is Anthony L. Williams, performer, educator, and award-winning director, writer, and producer. We will discuss his content, including Thicker Than Blood and It's Not You, It's Me, his business Second Glance Productions, and more. This is a recording of a live broadcast, so expect some imperfections during the show. There was some editing performed on the original recording. Enjoy the show.
Well, hello everybody. It's the Supporter Hashtag Creatives podcast. My name is Alan Greenstein, and our guest tonight is Anthony L. Williams, performer, educator, director, writer, producer. So first, let me introduce myself. I'm the founder and producer on Support Our Hashtag Creatives, and the goal of Support Our Hashtag Creatives to level the playing field for underrepresented creatives and artists so that they have the same opportunities as everybody else to get their works created, distributed, and seen. I'm also on the board of directors of the Bella Levy Foundation. The goal of the Bella Levy Foundation is to fight human trafficking and provide a safe haven for its warriors. So, once again, as I said, we're so happy to welcome Anthony L. Williams. And so, Anthony, why don't you briefly introduce yourself, and we'll be on our way with questions and such.
Hey, Alan. First of all, thank you for having me on today. I'm happy that we could finally make this happen. I'm Anthony L. Williams. I'm a filmmaker, an educator, and a performer based in Chicago, Illinois. And I'm also the CEO and executive creative director of Second Glance Productions.
Okay. Fantastic. Yes, I met Anthony at the recent World Music and Independent Film Festival that's put on by June Griso, another filmmaker that I work with. So I figured I'd take this opportunity to invite Anthony to be on the show. And here we are. I'm so excited that you're here.
Me too. I mean, we had so much fun at the festival. Shout out to June. The World Music and Independent Film Festival was dope this year. I had a great time. We had one of our earlier short films from 2013 make its premiere at the World Music Independent Film Festival. So I was really happy to be back and in person for the first time this year because I wasn't able to attend the first go round. So shout out to June.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay. Well, why don't you tell us briefly your origination story? I always like to have people begin that way.
Yeah, let's see. My origination story, I started out as a child actor, actually. I was about probably 11 or 12 when I started acting in children's community theater. And then I attended one of the top high schools where I grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas. It was the second ranked high school the year that I graduated in theater and arts and speech and debate. And so I spent my high school years training pretty rigorously, which I'm very grateful for because I learned everything that I needed to know there in high school. So I cut my teeth in high school, did some professional theater after high school. And then I very briefly moved to LA. Before I decided to switch coasts and go to the East Coast to North Carolina, where I started Second Glance Productions. And when I started my company, I primarily only had experience in front of the camera as an actor. And then I had a little bit of experience writing, directing, and producing theater. And so I figured those skills were probably transferable. And I dove into starting my own production company and writing and directing and producing my own material, and everything else was history from there. So, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Okay. And hi to Randy. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Randy. Hi.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay. Well, why don't we, you mentioned your company, your Second Glance Productions. Let's talk about that first. You know, why did you decide to found it, and what kind of services do you offer? You know, what do you do with your with Second Glance Productions?
Yeah, so Second Glance Productions started in 2009 out of a real necessity for material that represented people that looked like me. During my time of living in LA, I quickly realized that during that time in 2008, a lot of things were shut down. It was the recession. No one was making things in Hollywood. Like, it was just the wrong time to be doing things. But I felt like in my time spent in LA, I really realized that Hollywood was just really diving into putting resources into remakes and reboots and all of these franchises that were kind of bombing at the box office at that time. And so I kept saying to my friends that there's nothing original anymore, there's nothing fresh anymore. I should be, I could, and everybody's like, stop saying what you could do and just go do it.
Yeah.
And so I did. I moved to North Carolina and started my production company. I think it was around August of '09, and wrote my first short film and found a really, really great community of filmmakers in North Carolina. One thing that I learned very early on is if I didn't know something skill-wise, then to try to surround myself with people who do. And so since I didn't really know how the filmmaking aspects of things worked, I surrounded myself with a lot of people who did. And so together, we were able to come together to create material that people were kind of afraid to produce. And that's kind of the genesis of how Second Glance Productions was born. We are unafraid and we're unafraid to dive into talking about topics that people are afraid to discuss. And so Second Glance Productions is really all about what we're really good at is finding the heart in people's story and connecting that to the world. And what we mean by that is really finding the connections and the stories surrounding people that connects us, that serves as like a human fabric for humankind. And so we're able to create any type of story that surpasses genre, that surpasses anything, because it's all about story. And it's all about people. And so we focus on our mission at Second Glance is to edutain and inspire our viewers at first glance, but to also provoke deeper thought, conversation, and connection upon second glance. And we want people to be able to view our projects not only once, but 2, 3, 4 times. And every time they see it, they find something new or something new speaks to them.
I think that's a great tagline for your company about education at first glance and provoke thought at second glance. That is so cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And let me first say that June DeGiso is here. Welcome, June.
June's in the house. Hi,
Yeah.
June.
Yeah. Okay. Now, do you use your company just for your own films, or by any chance do you also can other people ask for you to help produce their films?
We do some of everything. So we produce our own creative in-house slate of projects. But one of the things that we're fantastic at too is working with small businesses, nonprofits, corporations, any type of business as well, to really bring their story of either their product or their story behind their company to the people. So our client list ranges, like I said, from townships and governmental agencies to nonprofit organizations, to small business, to corporations, to anything. And we also offer all types of services. So we don't only focus on scripted in-house slates of projects, but we do short and feature films. We're working on a docuseries / reality show right now at the moment. We focus on, a lot of our projects will often have themes of holistic health at the center. And then we also will focus, outside of just the creative stuff that we create. We produce commercials. We will do, short films by way of edutainment projects and series. And we also are stepping into creating life projects. And what we mean by life projects is we're able to document births, deaths, the life of someone, to be able to have like a commemorative memorabilia for someone as they're born or as they're stepping into, a different phase of life. So we are very creative with the types of services that we're able to offer and the types of video projects that we're open to creating.
Yeah. When you found the company, and you said you're still living in North Carolina at the time?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So what parts of North Carolina did you film in while you were living there?
I primarily lived in the Raleigh-Durham area. So I stayed in the Triangle, is what we call it, the Raleigh-Durham, Chapel Hill area. So that's where we did most of our work.
Yeah, okay. Because I was thinking about Dawson's Creek when I have North Carolina mentioned.
Oh.
They filmed in the Wilmington area.
They
So
did,
they
as
did,
well
yeah.
as One Tree Hill, I believe, shot down there. I was on a few episodes of that as an
Oh
actor
wow.
way back in the day.
Yeah, yeah.
And even, the reason I chose to move to North Carolina at that time was I think North Carolina was maybe the third largest film market in the country at that time. It was like New York, LA, and then I think it
Oh,
was North
wow.
Carolina. But yeah, some of everything came through. I was, shot with the Millers with Jennifer Aniston and Jason Sudeikis. I had a small, unrecognizable, and uncredited part in Iron Man 3 when it filmed there. And yeah, some of everything. Army Wives. Yeah, it's known for quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay. So after you were in North Carolina, where did you go after that?
So after my stint in North Carolina, I moved to Chicago, where I
Oh,
currently am now. Yeah, so
okay.
it was straight from there to the Midwest, and I'm absolutely loving Chicago. I feel like Chicago is, um, a it's like a big small town. It feels, it's big because the city is so large, but the communities are so tight knit that it kind of feels like a small world, and at times. So I enjoy it.
Oh, so how is the film industry in Chicago?
Talk about the film industry in Chicago. It is booming and it's amazing. I feel as if there are a lot of major projects that come in and they're in transit, but even the projects that have made their home here are fairly recognizable. We have The Shy from Showtime. A lot of the Batman films were filmed here. Um, the list goes on and on, but Chicago is home to a lot of big projects.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah,
So you really like it in the Chicago area. That's fantastic.
yeah,
Wow.
and even I'd be remiss to not mention the Chicago show, Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, Chicago Med.
Oh, yeah.
They're all filmed here as well. So yeah, the film community here within Chicago is amazing and continuing to grow. So I'm happy to be in a spot like this and a time like this for sure.
Yeah. Okay. See, say hi to Donna Britton.
Hi, Donna.
Oh, yeah, it's okay. Another fan has shown up. Great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Donna and I actually met at the WMIFF festival back in May.
Cool.
Brilliant, amazing, lovely, kind music supervisor. And so she and I are hoping to be able to do some work together here pretty soon. So hi, Donna.
Yeah. Hi, Donna. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to stop for a brief commercial. We'll be right back. I'm Alan Greenstein, founder and producer at Support Our Hashtag Creatives. At Support Our Hashtag Creatives, I offer a number of services to support those developing a project. Check out the services tab of my website at supportourcreatives.com. If you are interested, please use the contact tab on my website or email me directly at alan@supportourcreatives.com. Okay, we are back. Okay, we're going to talk now about the project, matter of fact, the project that you had screened at the recent WMIFF. It's called Thicker Than Blood. So tell us a little about the plot of it, and then I'll ask some more questions about it.
Yeah, Thicker Than Blood is a feature film that we filmed in 2016, 2017. It's about a young man who returns home after not having been home in 3 years to celebrate his older brother's promotion at work. And during this celebration, or what's supposed to be a celebration, you see why he has left for 3 years. And you also see how the family dynamic, you get a really great insight into this family's dynamic and why they treat people from the LGBT community and the HIV community the way that they do, and why they hide behind their faith to justify doing so. So it's a drama film, and it has taken home a few awards. Actually, we have won the awards for Best Director and Best Feature Film in 2019. And then we're so grateful to receive the awards at the World Music and Independent Film Festival this year for Best Actor and Best Supporting Actress. So it has been making an impact now for years, and not only just on the film festival circuit, but we started out in the grassroots circuits with doing private screenings across the country, and it took us to, health organizations, teaching institutions, LGBT organizations, faith institutions, and then even, further to the film festival circuit. So we're really, really grateful with the impact that it has been making with the community over the years.
What is its where is it in the process right now? Is it still in doing film festivals, or is it on to some other phase right now?
So it's on to another phase. We've decided to, after touring it for 8 years now, we decided to wrap out our touring and distribution or exhibition phase with the World Music and Independent Film Festival this past May. And so now we are stepping into making the film available for rent and purchase on streamers. So right now it is available for rent at secondglanceproductions.com/thicker than blood movie. And so you're able to rent it there, and we're working to bring it and make it more widely available on streaming platforms. So hopefully by this fall. So I'll keep you updated.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you're going the streaming route now. That's great. Yeah.
You're going the streaming route. Yeah.
It's always interesting to hear how people want to, have their movies be seen. They start on the, as I said, the film festival circuit, then go on to like US going streaming. Somebody they might do it the other way, because everybody has their own way of doing it. And either way, I guess it's really a challenge to figure out what would be the right festivals to submit to, or the right streamers to apply to, right? So
yeah. Yeah, it's always something that we think about and that I think about at the beginning phases of making a film. And so knowing, the journey that this film was going to take, I'm a man of huge faith. I come from a faith background. I still have very strong faith today. And so when this film actually landed in my lap, I got the inkling and the feeling and the inclination that this film was going to run me for a great amount of time, probably about 7 years until my next project was ready, which, come to find out, that's exactly what happened, because we're about 7 or 8 years in now, and it has taken us to, the next project that we will be releasing this fall. And so I have always known and trusted and felt that Thicker Than Blood was going to do what it has done. And so, when we had set out to make it, that's kind of one thing that I had at the forefront, as well as at the back end of my brain, is what do we do with it? How do we get it out to the people? And how do we, kind of create the longevity that we have created to be able to successfully reach that goal? And so we feel like we have.
Wow, that's amazing that your plan ended up being reality. Once again, it doesn't always turn out that way, and you have to be able to pivot, to if necessary. Well, that's very interesting how it turned out.
It's so funny you use the word pivot, because I feel as if people call me Mr. Pivot or the king of pivoting. Like as we talk about, how Thicker Than Blood came about, there are many moments of pivot, within that journey. And then even so with, the dating docuseries that we're planning to release this fall, there are many moments of pivot. And so, I always, as a filmmaker, have a plan A, plan B, hopefully a plan C. So that way, nothing is lost or falls through the cracks, if one plan doesn't necessarily pan out the way that we'd hoped. So talk about pivoting. What a great word choice.
Well, that's very important, and not just in the entertainment industry, but in any endeavor. You have to be able to pivot, otherwise you're not going to have any success, I think. Right?
Very true. Yeah. You got to be adaptable. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll be talking about the dating show in a little while. So I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. Okay. So tell us about the importance of message movies, and in particular the subjects of HIV and AIDS.
Oh, so I feel that any type of film, first of all, always has a message. It's just, is it clear enough? Is it being communicated clear enough for the audience to pick it up and understand it? And I feel that any type of message or any type of story is important within anything that we're doing media related. And so just sticking specifically to message films like HIV and AIDS, I think it's significantly important, especially under the living in the times that we're in today, where we're living under, the threats of erasure and the threat of, a lot of rollbacks and the threat of trying to, live in history, when, history often shows us that we should not repeat history at all. And so, as we're talking about HIV, AIDS, public health in general, this isn't necessarily only just about HIV and AIDS, but public health in general, because that's even, a threat that we're up against right now too. It's just very important to make sure that we have accurate information, accurate messaging, but also wide messaging and wide, accessibility to these things. And I think that it's, taken it a step further, it's even more important for communities of color because we don't have the opportunity to access those things when we need them. We don't have opportunity to access the information. We don't have opportunity to access the resources that we need. And then we don't have opportunity to access sustained things that we need over time. And so one thing that I found out, not only when researching for Thicker Than Blood, but when I was doing some research for the first short film that I did, Absolutely Positive, which got into WMIFF in 2013, we saw that the more that HIV or any type of subject is out of the media, the more the rates skyrocket. And so if you do a little bit of research, back in the mid 90s, I believe it was the TV show ER. So they had a character and a storyline that focused specifically on HIV. And so they did a study to where is that when they saw that HIV and information about HIV was represented widely and largely in a media capacity, that the infection rates went down. And that's because it was clear, visible messaging and knowledgeable information, easily accessible by way of a TV show. So when that character was written off, we saw that in the late 90s and even blending over into the 2000s, maybe until about mid 2000s to 2005, you see that there is very little and limited representation or talk about HIV at all. And if you look at those numbers, the infection rates skyrocketed. And so there is a correlation between what people are exposed to and what they have access to, and how that correlates to the impact, the real impact on our health, on our mentalities, if we're talking about mental health, holistic health, period. And when I said earlier that a lot of our themes focus on holistic health, that's mental, spiritual, emotional, physical, and sexual health. All of those 5 healths go into making up, us as people. And so if you neglect one, then the others are significantly impacted. So that's what I think about messaging and media, is that it's important and that it's needed, and that it also is not only important and needed, but the accuracy of what's being shared must be there as well. So that's what I think about that.
Okay. How was the film funded?
So Thicker Than Blood was actually funded through a public healthcare grant. So I, through my filmmaking journey, I was found my way in relationships with some healthcare providers in the state. And so they were on the tail end of some grant funding, and they were trying to find an opportunity to successfully use those opportunities and resources in a way that could widely reach their target audience. So as I'm sitting across the table having a meeting with them and hearing what they're wanting to, how they're wanting to utilize these funds, I really just stopped and was like, you know what, everything you guys are talking about sounds like a movie. And they were like, well, what do you mean? And so I soft pitched them a movie right there at the table. And they said, that sounds amazing. What if, we gave you the opportunity to write it? And I said, well, I absolutely would. So I went away for, a few weeks, ended up writing the script and brought it back, and they loved it. And they're like, well, what do we do with it now? And I'm like, well, it's your movie. You put in the resources to have it written, so you can do whatever you want with it. And they said, well, what if we give you the funding to make it? And so I said, well, I will absolutely do that. But if that's what we're wanting to do. And so all of us, we put all of our resources together, and we were able to really bust out this amazing feature film over the span of 11 days in, the heat and hurricane of, North Carolina.
Yeah.
And so talk about being a labor of love and, all forces working against us. And that's how I knew that this film was supposed to get made. I felt like there were so many obstacles that presented themselves during the filmmaking process that we had to overcome. But it all was, for the good of everyone involved and everyone who has seen it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yes. Tell us about the sequel to Thicker Than Blood.
Yeah, so Thicker Than Blood is actually the first of a three-part film series.
Mm.
And so with once we saw how successful and how impactful the first one was, I purposefully left it, I wrote it in a way to where there was a cliffhanger. The story did not end in a pretty way. It did not end in a way where you would tie a very cute bow on top of it and be able to walk away with, feeling, happy, because that's not necessarily how all of these stories end. So that gave us an opportunity to continue talking about the issues at hand. And so right now we have written the second film and we're seeking funding for that. And we have developed and outlined the third film, and we're prepping to step into development for that. And so I'm really pushing and hoping and working to get funding to film both the second and third entities at the same time, to be able to, exhibit all three of them at the same time. So that's what we're working on. So if there are any people out there that are interested in the story, interested in message films, and interested in the type of work that we're doing, we absolutely would love to hear from you, because it really, really is a special project that has just done so much for the community. So we hope to continue to be able to do that with the second and third installment.
Yeah. Would you be going back to North Carolina to film it?
I don't know. That's a good question. Quite possibly. I feel as if we probably would split filming between North Carolina and Atlanta. And I say that because most of the original cast has relocated to Atlanta. And even some of our original crew members that helped us film it also live in Atlanta. But there's still some ties that we have to North Carolina. So I could see us splitting production between both places. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, yeah, right. Well, that's really great about the sequel. I'm really excited about it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we are too.
Yeah. I want to quickly mention, since you are based in Chicago, is that June is going to be coming to Chicago, as you can see on the screen there. So you guys got to get together.
Oh, June, hit me up. Let's grab a bite to eat. It'd be good to see you again. Wow.
Yeah. Okay. And also we have Emily. She was at the WMIFF, and I don't know. Yeah, she was in the fashion show, and
yes.
Yes, and she's been on my show. And hi, Emily. Always great to see you.
It's good to see you again.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now let's move on to what you said was your next project. The dating show. It's not you. It's me. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I am stoked for this project. I'm so excited for this project because, again, I feel as if everything that we create and produce, there is nothing else like it. A lot of the things that we produce in-house are very unique. And so this next project we have coming out this fall, it's called It's Not You, It's Me. And it is a queer dating docuseries that follows three bachelors of color as they decide to get back into dating, but they're also in therapy to unpack baggage from previous relationships. So that way they don't take it into the new relationships that they're starting to build. And so if you haven't guessed it, this show is all about relationships at the heart of it. And it really meets at the intersections of modern dating and mental health. So again, we haven't really seen anything out here like this before. We're currently in post-production right now, and I am happy to say here first, so you're the first one to hear it, that the first episode of It's Not You, It's Me is going to premiere on my birthday on November 1st on Open Television, on OTV. OTV is our grantor for a grant that we just received to be able to push our first 2 episodes into post-production. And so after that, it will live on their OTV platform. So you'll be able to see those episodes there come November 1st.
So what is that, the letter O, TV?
The letter OTV, and it stands for Open Television.
Okay, there you go. That's the secret.
Yeah.
Oh, that is really exciting. So you said you have the first 2 episodes are set now. Are there going to be more episodes? Is this going to be something that have multiple seasons, or what is the structure of this going to be?
That's the plan. So our plan is to have multiple seasons, as many as we can. So to answer your first question, the number of episodes we plan to have is anywhere between 6 and 8. Right now we have slated 6, but we could see 8. And it might just be 2 additional, behind the scenes episodes. I don't know. We'll see. Keep you guys posted on that. But at least 6 episodes for sure. And we hope to have many seasons. We are slated for season 2 here in Chicago, and then we are currently in talks for season 3 in Denver. And so, there's a lot of traction, a lot of interest, a lot of, vitality for a project like this. And so we're really hoping that, it can kind of grow into, something that is somewhat of a franchise. So something equivalent to like a Bachelor, or, the housewives, the Real Housewives of wherever, not necessarily equivalent in content, but equivalent in format, I guess, and franchise. So we are excited about that. We could see this show not only being for queer men, but we could have one for queer women and trans individuals. And as we know, dating is completely different in Chicago versus LA versus New York versus Miami. And so we would love to be able to take this on such a large scale, not only across the country, but around the world. And we truly believe that it has the life and the vitality and viability and commercialism to be able to do that. So we're excited.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so you mentioned about OTV, and I expect that as things get closer, we'll be seeing a lot of publicity about that.
Absolutely. We've been posting everything on social media, so make sure to follow us, and we keep everything updated as much as possible.
Yeah. Okay, so basically, in terms of what's actually been produced, obviously still in the first season, and again, you'll be producing, as you said, more episodes for that, and we'll see it on OTV. Fantastic. Yeah. Okay. Now, let's talk about you as an actor.
Oh.
Yes. So, how did you get into acting, and was it in film or stage or both? Tell us about that.
I like to say I didn't get into acting. Acting got into me. Because I just remember like my first words and talking. I was always a very shy kid, but I was always drawn to film. And I just remember being, I don't know, 5, 6 years old maybe, and one of the earliest movies that I can remember that inspired me to want to act was Home Alone. Watching Macaulay Culkin run around and have his way with these, these 2 bandits. It just looked like so much fun, and I just remember thinking I can do that. And so from there, I think I always had the seed planted in me that I wanted to act, and I knew that I would have some type of performance element to what my purpose was and what my calling was. And so fast forward, to 11, maybe 10 or 11 years old, I saw a casting notice for the local children's theater and auditioned for that. And the rest was really history. I feel like, from that show, I started doing plays at school. And then again, I went to, the top 2 ranked high school in the state for performing arts at the time. And so, transitioned over into high school and was just trained by such brilliant teachers and knowledgeable people, and just soaking up as much as I could from, my peers and, the students that I worked with. And and all of that. So I left high school fairly equipped to be able to step into professional acting. And so all throughout high school, it was primarily stage and theater and musical theater. And then post high school, I did some musical theater and really didn't step into on camera acting until probably when I moved to North Carolina. I think I was strictly theater up until I moved to North Carolina.
Okay.
And then, I got an agent and started, actually got an agent fairly quickly and started performing in commercials and industrials. And then I worked my way up to, the bigger sets like One Tree Hill. I think within the first few months, now that I'm thinking back on it, I was booked for One Tree Hill very quickly.
Wow.
And then, after that came We're the Millers, and then Iron Man 3, and, the list goes on, but it's just one thing led to another. And I really just kind of coupled that with my love for becoming a student of life, because I feel as if, to really tap into what it means to be an honest actor, you have to really be present in your daily life and the things around you. And so I just started to lean more into my spirituality, which really opened up more doors and sensitivity and opportunities to be able to dive deeper into acting. And then that opened up a whole different world that helped me step into film and television. And so it's been a journey. It has been, it's been something that I grasp and hold on to, even the hard and challenging times, because even when I look back over how challenging this industry can be, or how much of a toll it can take on people at sometimes with rejection, or the places you have to go to be able to step into the work it takes to portray a character. I'm really grateful for even the hard times, because the hard times ultimately feeds back into the good times. Everything works for the good is what I believe. The hard times, the rejection, the anxiety, the mental health breaks, like all of that feeds back into the good. And so I embrace it all and I welcome it all. Because I feel as if it's all going to be used for a purpose, and everything that I go through is used to help others go through, things that they may be going through in their life. And so my journey with acting, I think, is a very different and special one. It's very completely different than my journey with filmmaking. Even though they're all kind of intertwined, I approach them differently and appreciate them differently. So yeah.
Wow. Oh, fantastic. So even stage and big screen and small screen. Wow.
Big, small, silver, all of it.
Oh yeah, right. All that. Oh, that's amazing. That's fantastic. I mean, it's nice that you have all these different multi hyphenate basically. All the stuff that you
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people ask, how do I juggle or maintain them all? And I honestly just look at them all as one purpose, and people will often ask, if you were an actor, how did you know or step over into filmmaking? I feel as if one informs the other. I feel as if my skills and knowing how to dive into an actor helps me as a writer, because I can recognize great writing, or I can recognize great and honest dialogue, or I can read between the lines of what's on a page because I have to, using my actor brain. Or even when I put on a director's hat and I'm working with actors, having been an actor, I know how to communicate with them in order to get them to a place, an honest place for performance. So, I feel as if all of the skills really do complement each other. And I'm just grateful for all of it. So I just look at it as all one hodgepodge of creativity, as opposed to this hyphenate, that hyphenate, this hyphenate. They all work together for me.
Yeah. Okay. So well, we're gonna stop for another brief commercial, and we'll be right back. I'm Alan Greenstein, founder and producer at Support Our Hashtag Creatives. If you make something, albeit make a movie, start a business, write a book, make a physical product, run a nonprofit, promote people, are a songwriter, etc., you too are a creative, and I would love to have you be a guest on the Support Our Hashtag Creatives podcast. If you want to be featured on this podcast, please use the contact tab on my website at supportourcreatives.com or email me directly at alan@supportourcreatives.com. Okay, we are back. All right, so got a quick technical question. You know, a lot of times when you're watching a movie or TV show and you see something filmed on the inside, you're wondering if it's an actual house or is it on a sound stage. So using Thicker Than Blood as an example, did you actually film inside the house or was it a sound stage?
We filmed in a house, an actual house, and the way that we were able to kind of take the most advantage of our resources. When I went through to write the script, I wrote a contained script, and for those who don't know, is a contained script either takes place in one day or at one location or in one time period, something like that. And so that's kind of what Thicker Than Blood is. It takes place in one location, which is this house. And so we were able to use the inside, the front yard, the backyard. So we were able to kind of write to wherever we needed to for this home. And so, yeah, it's one of our producers. It was her grandmother's house. And so I felt really bad because we kind of inconvenienced her for, almost 2 weeks. But, she was a great sport. She made an appearance in the film. And, it was just so much love. But yeah, it was one place, one location, on location.
Okay. Yeah, we always wanted about stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you have any advice for people who would like to emulate what you do?
Number one, I would say don't emulate what I do.
Oh, okay.
Say everybody's journey is absolutely different. When I was younger and starting my journey, I always would ask people, what's the secret, or what do I do, or how do I get to where you are? And there really is no one way or one roadmap to get there. There really isn't. And I feel that, everybody starts in a different place. So not everybody's going to start in the same place where I'm starting in. So I really hate to offer people a comparison or to say do X, Y, and Z and this will happen, because it's absolutely not true. Half the time, none of us know what we're doing. We're just trying a whole bunch of things at once, and we will see what happens and how it all plays out. So number one, I would say not emulate what I do, but I would absolutely say do what you do and do it best. If you know that you have this thing and this project that you're wanting to tackle, you just have to do it. If you wait, you'll talk yourself out of it. If you try to find the right time to do it, the right time will never come. If you try to get the right version or iteration of the script, that will never come. Nothing is ever right about the process until the project is done. And I say that because everything that you have from day one when you start to day 1000 when you end will change over time. So it's always great to be, like we were talking about earlier, be amenable, be able to pivot, be willing to pivot, and just be ready to go with the flow. Number two, I would say surround yourself with good, knowledgeable people that you trust. Don't be afraid to tell people what you don't know. A lot of people are always like, oh, well, don't show that you don't know this. I am an advocate for the opposite, because if you can be honest and upfront and transparent about what you don't know, then you can build the skill to surround yourself with the people who do know those things. So you can strengthen your circle, and then you can also learn from those people. So that way you're not completely, that way you gain the knowledge in the process. And then I would also say one thing is to trust your gut and your instinct. I say this is a collaborative effort. One reason I approach things the way that I do is because I want everyone that's attached to the projects I'm working on to walk away feeling as if it's also their project, because they're putting in the time, the energy, their skill, their creativity. So I want them to be able to walk away from a project proud of what they put into it. So when you're collaborating, and please let it be a collaboration, when you're collaborating with other people, recognize, what could be great information, hold on to that. What may not be information that suits you at this time, you can either put it on the back burner or completely dismiss it completely. But just know that as much as much information that you have and as much creativity that you have, the more of a better informed creative decision you can make. So the decision may stop with you, but you equip yourself with the opportunity to make the best creative choice by allowing in all of that collaboration to help you make that informed decision at the end. So that's just a little bit of tidbit of information or principles that I go on as a creative. Always collaborate, but know that the buck stops with you and you have to make the final decision. And then also just know to surround yourself with people that that know more than you do. Don't be afraid to let people know what you don't know, just as much as what you do know. And then don't wait for the perfect time to do things, because perfect does not exist. Therefore, the perfect time will never come. You just have to trust yourself to be able to dive in to do it.
Excellent advice. Golden nuggets of advice. That's great. Okay.
Things I live by.
Oh, that's great. I mean, it's definitely worked well for you, for sure. More to come. More to come. Looking forward to all the things that are coming up for you. Okay,
Thank you.
What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Oh, so the best way is probably Instagram. So I got my Instagram there at the bottom. It's Anthony_Wlms is my personal. And then if you'd like to stay on top of what we're doing with It's Not You, It's Me, the dating series, with Thicker Than Blood, with any of the other projects we're developing, then absolutely follow Second Glance Pro on Instagram.
Fantastic. And so don't forget that Second Glance Pro on Instagram. Yes.
On Instagram. Okay. Yeah.
Well, so I'd like to first thank you for being on the show. And before I say goodnight, I want to mention that I'd like to thank everybody who's watching live, as well as those who's watching on the replay. And for those of you who could not catch the live, this episode will be repurposed and placed on your favorite streaming platforms, such as Spotify. So it's out there. It'll be out there, so you can watch this. Recommend it to your friends, and hopefully we get a lot of people to watch. Yeah. So once again, thanks to Anthony L. Wlms for being on tonight. And
thank you for having me, Alan. I appreciate it. I'm glad we got to do this.
Yes. I'm always so excited, especially people that I meet by networking. That's what I always say. Networking, you got to do that. And you never know who you're going to meet. And it's really been great having you on. So with that, I'm going to say, good night, everybody.